don't like losing, but at least when I lose, it's entertaining to watch.
Come on then, let's have number 8. Number 8, here it comes, number 8. Huzzah! That's a big result.
It is also an opportunity to go in and try to figure out how to respond and fix things after getting destroyed. And I didn't get destroyed in front of nobody here. This is in the network game, which is a live streamed league between me and other top Football Manager YouTubers where we're managing a lot of England's top teams. And I did get well and truly boat raced. But afterwards, I managed to turn things around and beat the best manager in the whole league who had not lost all season and who had actually beaten me 6-1 in our first matchup of the season. I promise I don't lose every game by a lot of goals, but if you play FM long enough, you will lose by a lot of goals. So this is how I read and reacted to the situation to get a great result in my next match. But before I do that, there is some big news for this channel. The travel video series called Hidden Grounds. Maybe you've seen one of those episodes before. It could have been this one, could have been this one, where we go to clubs and we try to tell the stories of the place and the club that clubs that are achieving really unique things, like in the Faroe Islands when they were the first Faroese team to make a European group stage. Well, thanks to you guys watching and subscribing, we've been fortunate enough to film another one, and it has a release date. It'll be premiering right here on this channel at 10 a.m. Eastern Time on November 12th. So not this Tuesday, but next Tuesday. I think. I'm not quite sure when this video is coming out, but the 12th of November, 10 a.m. East Coast time in the United States, which is 3 p.m. or 15 in London. So usually from New York or London, you can figure out when it will be premiering on this channel on the 12th. There will be a trailer for it at the end of this video, and I think it's the best work that we do on this channel, and I hope we get the opportunity to do it a lot more. So if you have the ability and you're able, I would love to see you there for the premiere to check out the 3rd episode of Hidden Grounds. But back to me losing 8-1. Do we have to go back? Yes, it's instructional for the people. And remember, story has a happy ending. Started on a drizzly Tuesday. We're away against Arsenal, and our league situation going into this match is pretty good. We're 7 points clear of Arsenal, who in this case is managed by Lelujo, the 7-time Streamer Showdown champion, an inter-streamer championship competition that used to exist a couple of years ago that I did win twice, but he won it 7 times. But hey, I'm 7 points above him in the league going into this match. Okay. You see, my most recent match against Lelujo, I had played him in the League Cup, and I ended up losing that match by a couple of goals, even though I beat him in the league earlier in the season. So I knew I needed to make a few changes, particularly to try and account for his wings. See, he plays a pretty traditional 4-2-3-1, and his wings cause the biggest problem. He does a very good job of drawing your defenders and getting those wings into the channels, and they just always seem to get in between your fullbacks and your center backs and everything. I play a back 5, so that can be a particular issue if they get inside of my outside center back. So I decided to have both of my outside center backs do some man-to-man marking, like specifically assigning them to mark a particular player. Because I had made such a drastic tactic shift that I felt like was going to help, I needed to let the match play out for a little bit in order to assess how that was really going to work. The problem was I wasn't given that luxury because this happened. Oh, now what's this? Now what is this? What is this nonsense that's broken out on the field? It's one of those goals that there's really not a ton you can do to prevent unless you want to pull a few more people out of the wall in order to try and mark defenders, but not a goal you can feel massively, particularly responsible for tactically, right? In terms of the mentality of your team going into the game or your overall team building or your overall team morale, you are still responsible for it. I'm not going to be able to shirk all the responsibility, but he gets an early goal at home. And then a couple minutes later, this happens.
I appreciate it.
Well, that's,
Hey,
I mean,
no
you know.
kicking my captain.
Okay. The amount of untoward nonsense that we've found ourselves involved in today, I find disreputable. So I'm down a goal and down a man, trying a new tactical philosophy against someone that beat me the last time I played them. It is a terrible spot to be in. I am of the belief there is always a right answer in these situations. I am also of the belief I sure as hell didn't find it. So in order to try and preserve this new approach that I wanted, where I would have my center backs be able to track his wingers, I basically just took one of my 3 attacking players off the field so that I could keep a full defensive shape in my back 5. I have now chosen to combine my kind of out there philosophy for approaching his tactic defensively with being a man down. I knew this was a big swing, but I felt like I needed to take a big swing to try and be able to keep his team out of the back of the net and give us a chance. It turned out that my little experiment did not go well at all. Well, now, okay, all right. But after the 3rd goal, my brain really started to tick back on in turnover. Obviously, all of this is happening so quickly, I did not react speedily enough in recognizing that the plan I had laid out, whether it actually could work or not, was not going to help in a situation where my team was quite literally falling apart. There are certain times in Football Manager where the wheels fall off your team and it feels like they can't do anything, epitomized by Badiashile just giving the ball away to the other team. In those moments, it can be a very good idea to switch to your most defensive tactic, a deeper tactic, to give yourself 10 to 15 minutes to try and catch your breath and slow down the chances they are creating. We all know that having a tactic where you're up, you're pressing the opposition, you're controlling the game is the type of tactic that you want. But it is not the right tactic in every second of every game. The idea of wholesale changing tactics massively over the course of the match is one that I often overlook as well, but it should have been clear to me after the 2nd and if not the 3rd goal that I needed to make massive changes to prevent myself from getting steamrolled.
17-0, here we come.
But it was after that 4th goal that you just saw that I mentioned the wheels started turning, and that's because I noticed something that I should have control over. It's a throw-in, but it was a long throw-in, and one where my defensive positioning did not seem to be particularly good. We have a bunch of dudes in the box, and yet all of a sudden there is a 3-on-1 in this shell on the outside, which directly leads to the goal. As my defenders try to push out and recover the space that we have conceded by not having enough people at the edge of the box, they just forget about Gabby Jesus, and all of a sudden he's wide open and puts the ball in the back of the net. Then another goal from a set piece to make it 5-1. And of course, on stream, I am reeling.
Only 12 more to go, boys and girls.
I'm mostly in silence, but I am reeling. But even in that state, I'm starting to realize some of the mistakes I made. I didn't fix my set pieces after I went to man down. As much as the set piece system has been revamped, when I went to man down, that left me with 1 player at the edge of the box. So you see right here. See, if you're playing against somebody, especially somebody that really knows their stuff, you gotta have 2 people at the edge of the box. Honestly, against the AI, it's a cardinal sin not to, because when those balls come out, these guys just don't get out fast enough. You need to have a couple of players that are able to react to this situation, and I didn't. So I make that change, but it's probably the only good change that I made. Even though I knew that something squirrely was going on with the long throws, and even though I scored in the second half.
I just think it's appropriate that his centre-back's called Tar, because that's what we keep saying to his defence every few minutes.
I was a little overwhelmed by the situation, and it's tough not to be, even though it's just a game. Football Manager does a pretty good job of simulating the actual experience of frustration guiding your decision-making in real-world football. The press conferences are a big contributing factor for this. If you don't do those, it's a little easier to get through this sort of stuff, but it's then re-amplified by the fact that when I'm streaming, there's like 1,000 people there watching this all happen. But there's one thing that I remind myself of in these moments. This is going to sound more like life advice, right, than actual Football Manager advice, but hopefully it'll help in both. It'll definitely help in FM. Remember the things you can control and the things you can't. Football Manager is maddening in the same way that poker is maddening. You can do everything right and still lose. I obviously didn't do everything right in this game. In fact, I did a ton of things wrong. But based off of shots, XG, possession, whatever, I was still getting unduly steamrolled. I deserved to lose this match by a couple of goals, but 8-1... I mean, anytime you're losing a match like this 8-1, there is at least some ridiculousness going on, and that's football, and that's Football Manager. So you take a couple of deep breaths and remember what you can control, which is what did we do wrong that led directly to what they were able to do? And perhaps what did they do successfully that I'm able to replicate? Which brings me back to the throw-ins, because he got me with another one in the second half, at which point I started to get a really weird feeling about throw-ins. I've played a lot of Football Manager, especially this year, and I have not really noticed defending throw-ins from this position being more of an issue than it has been in the last couple of years, especially with it being long throws. But having watched it happen a second time, I realized that it's happening Because he has so many people in the box. And then it's not necessarily about the long throw being the threat. It's about the fact that you have nearly your entire team in the box being the threat. But as I'm starting to piece this together in the back of my mind somewhere in the subconscious with all the different SpongeBobs running around, the match rattles on and I keep getting flattened.
And more.
And let me tell you, Lelujo is not an easy person to lose to.
Come on then. Let's have number 8. Number 8. Here it comes. Number 8. Huzzah!
He's a very talkative lad. He reminds you what's happening all the time, and he likes to pretend that his tactics are very basically set up, even though he is somebody that really understands the game in the margins, like with this long throw.
Randall, what a boy. What a good boy.
But in Football Manager, it is so crucially important to not lose your head over one game. Remember what I said at the beginning of this video? I had a 7-point lead over this Arsenal team going into this match. It's only my 3rd loss of the entire season in 23 matches. It is obvious that my tactical principles and my squad are both not terrible, which means I am not in need of a massive team meeting. I am not in need of a massive overhaul. I just need to figure out what caused this match to spiral out of control. And never use player mark against Lelujo again. That was dumb. But my opportunity for redemption was right around the corner because there was one person in this league that was ahead of me in the league standings, and that was Work the Space. He represented England at the Football Manager World Cup. He tested tactics thousands of times, and it shows. He's shredding the league. He's won all matches but one, which was a draw. The only match that I played against him this season, I lost 6-1, and he used a tactic he called the 5 at the back buster that it destroyed me.
We're not scoring.
Oh,
Oh,
God
okay.
gracious.
Okay.
Oh, come on with that.
Oh, that works.
What is Sanchez doing with these goals, man? I get this tactic's a man beater, but I feel like we're not getting out-tacticked. I feel like my guys just getting destroyed. It lived up to its name. But what can I control in this situation? I can control how my team is going to play against Liverpool and not let that Arsenal match affect me. Not forget about it, learn from it, but not let it affect me. First order of business, installing that long throw tactic. His throw-ins are really good. How many people does he have back? He has 1 guy back. That's what he's doing. Yeah, see, I've got 3 guys back right here. So he's got the long throw on so he can control where these guys are. He can get 2 more people up. I don't know exactly how he's got it set up, but he's got 2 lurk near post, 1 lurk far post, 1 attack near post. Yeah, you really just need 1 stay back if needed. Got it. Second order of business. Obviously, I'm not going to play a 5 at the back. He has a 5 at the back buster. I'm not going to be so married to my principles where I've played a 5 at the back system every other match this year that I'm gonna, end up screwing myself because I have to stay that way. Now, I watch Zealand videos, so I've been training 3 tactics all year, so I can pretty fluidly switch into the next one. The problem is, I've gotten rid of most of Chelsea's wingers because we basically play without them. So the tactic I choose to switch to is gonna cause Jack a lot more problems based off the way he played last time, and allow me to still get my best players on the field. This is, of course, further reinforced by the fact that my back 5 just got destroyed by another user player, and now I'm going up against somebody that I didn't beat the first time I played them this year. So the decision is to try and exploit them trying to exploit what they think I'm going to do. This can be very helpful in your save as well, because you'll often find that most of the formations you play against are a 4-2-3-1 or maybe a 4-3-3, and then there's always that one team that brings out a weird formation. If you struggle against that one formation, it's a very good idea to start testing different tactical approaches instead of trying to continuously reinvent the wheel with your own tactic previously. My thinking going into the Jack match was the 5 at the back buster stretches us very wide. Here's what it looks like, but there is one deficit. There's like nobody in the middle of this tactic. So if I run a narrow 4-3-3 and have a midfield diamond that is narrow, I am working with 4 midfielders against his 2. Now, he picks up on my strategy, and I try to mislead him. Not very well.
I just noticed it. Are you changing your formation today?
No. Why is that 4-man midfield going to help me so much? One, I'm obviously going to be able to dominate the middle of the field, but Jack plays those meta tactics. This is like when you're playing against Manchester City and they're the AI. They're going to press you. They thirst for the ball. They hunger for the ball. Their tactic only works if they have the ball. And if it's 4 against 2 in the middle of the field, that gives my team the best chance to just be able to hold on to the ball. The longer I hold on to the ball, these meta tactics don't hold up positionally defensively the longer I have the ball because they're chasing it all over the place. It's like when you're playing FIFA Ultimate Team and decide to play possession instead of just driving straight down the field. Sure, you know, it's like a sweaty way to play, I guess would be the word. But if you let them keep pressing, they'll eventually pull themselves out of position. You just have to have enough passing options to allow yourself to weather the storm. So based off of me getting abused by Jack last time, I understood that would be a very good way to get my best players on the field and try to control the game. And going into a match against a team that's dropped 2 points in 23 matches all year, it works. We create more highlights, we have more possession, we have more match momentum than the other team, and then we get this. Now hold up, I'm gonna pause it right there. We are able to open the play up with a classic 1-2 on this side of the field, but just look at how effective this tactic was at stretching the defense out, and then all of a sudden there is so much space in the middle, because look at the amount of space if Caicedo had decided to turn the other way that he could have used to try and get the ball into the middle of the field. Instead, that space was bait, and once I was behind his fullback, it was over. But after about 30 minutes, he decided to leave the old tactic behind and switch to another one of his really well-tested meta tactics that he's been using.
Is the back five dead? I need to change stuff. We go back to what I know.
And I say meta tactics because basically they're just really good tactics. I don't mean to be disparaging by calling them meta tactics. They're just really good because he did all that testing for the FM World Cup and all that stuff. Now, as somebody that makes videos about those types of tactics, I know that one of the main points of those tactics is to completely overwhelm the middle of the field. So I make the decision not to change. It would have made sense for me to go back to that back five, but considering that back five just really struggled against a very good 4-2-3-1, I decided against it. Although normally I would have. In a must-win game, this was not time to experiment. And considering the goal of these types of 4-2-3-1 tactics is to overwhelm the middle, a narrow 4-3-3 is not a bad way to go about defending it.
The Robertson inverted wing back, I love it. Just sat at the edge of the box.
That sucked. And you can watch in real time during the stream as the cogs turn in my brain. Andy Robertson is not supposed to be there. He's still playing left back, but he's very clearly on inverted wing back, and that's how he's popped up at the edge of the box. I make sure that my opposition instructions are set to tightly mark and trigger press against opposition fullbacks, which they always are. But this is where I made the toughest decision maybe you're going to see in this entire video. I don't change anything. I've said before that not changing anything is like the boldest thing you can do in Football Manager, but gotta remember, again, what can I control and what can I not? If I assign a particular player to individually man mark Andy Robertson, I'm going to in some ways destroy my formation. It is a narrow 4-3-3. It's got a narrow diamond in the midfield. There is nobody that is naturally predisposed to marking a fullback. I do not have nearly as good a team in a 4-2-3-1 as I do in this narrow formation. And if I switch to something like that, I am seeding players in the middle of the park, which I very clearly need anyways, given this goal. If you watch the play over again, what undoes us is our lines are broken. They turn the play into a sprint towards our goal and then have to connect multiple sharp passes in order to get Andy Robertson a shot from outside the box, which is then deflected into the back of the net. And my thought process in this situation is, if an Andy Robertson shot from outside the box is what they're able to produce when everything is going right, that's something I can live with. Because every change that I could think of in that particular situation was going to offer them something more. In hindsight, not in the heat of battle, I would have turned off trigger press on his wingers. Because what opens this play up is Chiesa receives the ball, Chilwell checks up to him, Musiala is able to get behind him, and now all of a sudden I have Enzo Fernandez trying to cover for Chilwell, which leaves the middle of the field open. And that is why I come up one player short over there. If Chilwell had given Chiesa space to help cover the Musiala run, we would have been better off. And so, I did nothing. Based off of the flow of the match, the control we'd had of the match, I hit encourage, and I put my faith in the fact that we were controlling the affair. And that faith was repaid. There we go, there we go, there we go, there we go, there we go.
He's on. We all know the tells. Let's not pretend there's drama here, Football Manager.
There's an old Napoleon quote that is essentially, if your opponent is making a mistake, don't interrupt them. Basically, as far as what I can control in Football Manager, we were being the better team. So I didn't want to make a change that would open something up for what he had set up right now. Tactically, I I was going to wait for him to make a change and then react to it because I felt like we were in a better position than he was. And literally what wins it for us is the match control, because with his super aggressive pressing and us being able to maintain possession, Chiesa ends up way inside without the legs to get over and recover to Chilwell. That means that the fullback on the right side, Jeremy Frimpong, is coming all the way up to defend Chilwell on the left side. And this opens up a huge channel for one of my 2 strikers. At which point I'm able to sprint his whole line back, get a cross in, and on this particular occasion, it pays off. We score the goal, and I become the first manager to beat Work the Space in the league all year. The first match lost in any competition by Liverpool all year. And look, because Football Manager is alchemy, we're never going to know exactly how important each one of those changes and each one of those decisions was made. It's a black box. They don't show you the numbers. They show you a lot of other numbers. Hello Data Hub, but they don't show you the numbers. I do like the idea of there being one person out there that's been screwed over more than any other person on Football Manager, and I'm convinced a lot of us think we are that person. But if you want an endorsement for keeping your cool and assessing what you can control, in that match alone against Liverpool, I created 3 or 4 highlights from long throws alone. And what I learned from getting abused by both Lelujo and Work the Space combined to produce a tactic that ended up working, and using the talent that I knew we had over the course of most of the season to actually get the result when it mattered most. I'll upload this victorious new tactic to the Steam Workshop and to FM Base so that you can check it out more in full, or if you just have a friend or an AI team that keeps playing a 4-2-3-1 that you just can't beat. But the most important tip of all is be zen and learn, because if you get blown out and you don't learn anything, well, then you're just getting blown out. But now it's time for the trailer of episode 3 of Hidden Grounds.
Do you pinch yourself?
I don't think anywhere in the world there's a story like that, like in football.
We've like literally said that any guy who'd walk into the pub, I'd just be going, "You don't play football, do you?"
And it was magic because it was a little pub team and they did so well.
The professionalization of a pub team.
Yes.
I didn't care the score or anything, just to stand there with all those people shouting. I don't want it to finish.